In this video, I'm going to show you how I made something in Cinema 4D that loosely represents a blooming flower with multiple materials, exported out as Alembic, and imported into Unreal Engine with all of its materials. It's gonna be great. Alright, so we're gonna start off in Cinema 4D. I'm gonna show you how I made this quick little adorable flower thing. And really what this is I need this point level animation to bake out. So instead of rigging this up with a bunch of bones, using the MoGraph tools, I can just kind of make this thing bloom. So the way I did this was I started off with just this basic petal. Turn all this off. So simple geometry that I went through and added in. I used a taper to bend it down, cloth surface to give it some depth, and then a subdivision surface to get this petal. From there, I used connect objects to create a new version of it. Just you can see that. Hide this to show the next step. And then at this point, I put all of these inside of a cloner. So as you can see, I have my clone, and then I have 4 separate instances of the same thing. Now why I broke this down into 4 versions was because I wanted to have 4 different materials on here. So if I would have just had all of these, you'd see it's just one material, but for the sake of this, I wanted a variety of materials on here. And then in each section, I have the geometry. I'm using a spline wrap, and I'm driving the spline wrap with this MoSpline. And as you can see in here, I'm keyframing the angle and the bend to get this thing to open up, and then the number of segments. So if I turn off the cloner, you can kind of see it freaking out with colors, and you can see why this is opening up the way it is. But I've got all these instances in here, and when I clone it out, perfect. So next you want to get this into Unreal Engine. So I added all of these into a connect object, and this is important because if you just do this cloner, it's only going to pretty much bake out kind of the first version of this MoSpline instance with the steps, and you're going to have a material for each one, and that's not what we want. So I threw this into a connect, and this is going to make it just one object that we have to deal with, and the main thing we're trying to get is all of these separate materials in the Alembic. So file, that's not the one. So we're going to export as Alembic, 90 frames, export this out, put it in an Alembic folder, and we're going to save this out. Okay, so we're in Unreal Engine. Got another quick little scene that I put together just to mock this up. Now we need to import our Alembic file. So if you haven't already enabled it, make sure you have the geometry cache for Alembic in your plugins activated. I'm going to drag in our Alembic file and drop it in. And it's a few things we need to change here. Static mesh, you want to make sure you have geometry cache that's going to import it. The main thing that we're doing here is flatten tracks. So if this is checked on by default, which it likely is, this is going to remove any materials tag information that you have on here. So you're always going to want to check this off. Spent a really long time trying to figure it out, and I honestly thought this was impossible until I figured out that's the little magic checkbox that just kind of ruins your life. And I'm going to set the rotation to 90 because that's how Cinema exports out at Alembic, and we're going to import this in and check it. So we have our geometry cache imported, great, and now when we drop this into the scene, it's apparently huge, we're going to shrink this down to 10%, and that just fits the way that I want it in here. So this didn't actually import materials because I didn't specify it to create materials, but you will see now that we unchecked flatten tracks. Now you've got all 4 of these in here, all 4 of your material selections in here that we can replace. So I quickly put together some quick versions of these materials, and we're just going to drag and drop each one on. We are going to open a level sequence, drag this guy in and make sure that it's working. We want our geometry cache, and now this imports exactly how we wanted. So you can see the UV information is maintained, and we have all the materials that we wanted in here. Look at it go. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your time here. Hope you found this helpful.